Ladies and gentlemen, as we head into the final half before the grand finals of the semi-final, the winner will face talent in Bangkok in September. But right now, it's looking like CAG potentially looking to get this 3-0. Xavier Esports looking to get that start of a reverse sweep, but it's a long and arduous journey.
Xavier would want it so bad. If they go to that final, they get that home crowd. They get to have their shot at winning Contenders Pacific in front of all of those local fans. But they've got to start turning it around now. Maybe it can be motivation to fuel a fire, set off an inferno.
It is Olivier.
It's peter out.
It is Olivier swapping in here. For Xavier Esports, mostly running at that ground composition with the GOATs 3 and 3, but it is Paddy Pan changing things up as the Reaper player, wanting to force CAG onto the ground battle.
And it's worked. Xavier have just kind of barreled on through. It's on CAG to answer, but answer they do. So, oh, there we go. They just barely get the third in, even as they start losing some members here. This is a little bit dicey now. Xavier, I think this push has ultimately failed, but they've got a good lot of progress, and that third will stick. They've actually still ticked up even more progress. Not quite enough to get the next third, though.
Cyclops at the gaming, collecting a ton of kills. You see Saber got actually started with 2 there. Tayo went down, but gets res back in. Xavier Esports already looking to make a little bit of a swap here in terms of composition. Paddy Pan looking to respond with that Widowmaker, and that would be very useful for them, but they need to be able to find the shots, and Depp is looking to maybe challenge with the Sanzo.
CAG now. Look at a little bit more setup on this defense, but if Xavier can just get another situation like the one before, start to get pretty good, pretty close to capping, and they take out Tayo's tire. Let's say that one 3 times fast kind of sentence. CAG do have more in the bank, but Xavier themselves now starting to come up on rotation. It's death to Paddy Pan. That's a little unfortunate.
That's the kind of challenge that Depp has against Paddy Pan right now. No res available for Xavier Esports. Kind of changing their minds here. They thought about backing up. Paddy Pan has respawned. The good news, because he's playing Widowmaker, Xavier Esports can still aggress this point. Paddy Pan comes in late, is still effective because he has long range.
Now here's the boots on the ground and the pressure on. They've actually capped a third. CAG, a very slow to answer in these situations. It was a third for the first one, now third on the second one. And I mean, you got to consider it can just keep going that way. But once again, Paddy Pan finds himself shot out by the counter sniper. So the Dragon Strike comes across the team. It's enough to take out Queen. And even with these ultimates being used by Xavier, it's not enough. CAG have more, and they get more with them. Going to again complete a hold, but not for free. Xavier did get that third.
Xavier Esports right now kind of banking on Paddy Pan to be able to come in and land these shots, but Depp finds him as Paddy Pan's trying to set up. And the game plan for Xavier was quite clear. You want to be able to rotate most of your tanks onto the point itself while the brawl is happening. Paddy Pan comes in slightly late, lands a couple of headshots. The fight swings your way. Right now, he is still currently trying to land those shots, but Xavier, knowing that time is running out, are changing onto a dive composition.
Oh man, gets one. Luckily it's Claire, which means any kills Xavier can get now will absolutely take hold. There are no reses. Trades coming in. Losing Queen is rough, but they've got the critical mass of kills now. Rez comes in on Queen as well, and Xavier looking good, looking healthy in terms of the numbers on the point. Even though Paddy Pan goes down again, they should be able to finish this one off. It's looking a little bit tricky. Yeah, Depp's really popping off here. Dies before he can use the Dragon Strike though, and will not get Rez back up. Claire gets found out by THK, and Xavier will complete the cap.
Now that was a tricky moment there for Xavier Esports. Nearly didn't get that cap, but Depp got any more kills. That kind of swung in Cyclops CAG's favor. I mean, he still had the Dragon Strike to play with, so doesn't get to use that, unfortunately. Kind of just throws it out from spawn, directly then changes onto that Brigadier pick. Now for Xavier Esports, going onto that beat push, swapping Paddy Pan onto the fire as well. Looking to counter out what CAG have on the ground.
Tayo moving on over to a Genji. That is another one of his sort of old favorites, as it were.
Definitely has a repertoire. You can see White gets himself double very, very quickly. Still double support ultimates available for CAG here, as well as backed up by the self-destruct on Kemba Hororo. A couple of late kills here. 30 Kong dying. Gonna have to wait for that one. Wait even longer for Queen and THK.
Oh, that became a bit of a wash. How many kills happened so late in that fight there, and Xavier didn't really get any momentum early on. CAG now really starting to bank up the defensive ultimate. Xavier's window is kind of closed for the snowball.
So less than 4 minutes. I'd say it's already closed in terms of a snowball. Now it's just up to regular attacks once they've been fully reset, especially once they've actually changed compositions as well, they don't have any ultimates to play with. It's a full new push.
And they're kind of running, I mean, you can't even really call this GOATs at this point. Keeping the Mercy in so that they've got that extra support for Patapan in the skies, in case Teo wants to slice him out with the Dragon Blade, because he does have one at his disposal now. They've started to weather the storm though, Xavier, but here is that Dragon Blade already finding Thetacorn. It's even more high impact really than getting Patapan, who strikes one back with the barrage, gets Sabagod too. And Xavier may want to stay in this, but it's tough without the healers, without the supports in the mix, and committing those ultimates only to be rebuffed is a really sour pill.
The pockets are deep for CAG as well. They still had the Primal Rage. They did get a decent number of kills coming out the Rocket Barrage, but like you said, no healers means no sustain, which means no progress for Xavier Esports, which means another reset, unfortunately, for them. But they did force some crucial ultimates out of CAG, which is going to weaken that defense and strengthen their next push.
Yeah, CAG aren't exactly in a great spot right now. When you consider CHK will likely have himself a rally, they'll match that ultimate, and then they've got those tools on the tanks that CAG currently lack.
So kind of mileage they get out of that as well. A lot of ground they can make and a lot of space they can create as well. Earthshatter could be absolutely deadly. You gotta think for CAG, this is a very vulnerable position for the first time on this B defense.
Double rally to come out as CAG pounce on Xavier as they move on to the point itself. Earthshatter in, out of Queen, but it doesn't get a lot of connection still, though. They catch Sabagod with the self-destruct, and just about to continue finishing this third here, even as Claire reses his co-support. Teo forced back to base, and Samurai long dead will respawn. Xavier haven't quite finished off these extra members. Now CAG just about back at full fighting force. There we go, Sabagod dead, just as he would have had a Transcendence. That's a big critical kill for Xavier. The Dragon Blade from Tayo, though, is going to completely change that tune. No, Rocket Barrage, it gets Kenma Hororo. Patapan gets cut out of the sky, and the two teams still trading blows back and forth like two heavyweight boxers. Speaking of, Depp out on the Doomfist has started to beat back the Tide Xavier. They haven't got any further progress, and CAG can start stabilizing here.
There's still 5 members available for CAG, and they are getting kills now. Olivier demeched and taken off the map. Xavier see the writing onto the wall. They're going to back off. They still had a couple of ultimates to use, but they're going to be happy to just get that one tick for now. What they're not too happy about is that there's only 1 minute remaining, which means no more mistakes from this team, and they cannot play for that second third. They have to play for the remaining 2 ticks in one go. It has to be a full completion here of 1 attempt.
Patapan went over onto the McCree because there was a Genji and a Doomfist. Now there's only a Genji, so it's ever so slightly less impactful with those flashbangs, finding picks on that, but can still be high impact, especially in Patapan's hands. Self-destruct forward, blocked out by Queen's Shield. Now Xavier commit to the point with the rally from THK. Self-destruct forward from Olivier. Catches Samurai. Can't point that shield in every direction, buddy. And that's a good opening kill now as Teo pressured way out. Does make his way to a health pack, but Depp not so lucky. Earthshatter out as well from Samurai. Little bit of follow-up, just enough follow-up. In fact, plenty of follow-up as the last push from Xavier ultimately gets shut down. Even with Teo getting picked off, there's just not enough members for Xavier to stay in the fight. They've got to do what they can, and they are still getting kills, but it does feel like CAG are on the cusp of stabilizing for what would be the final time.
Xavier Esports, they still have that coalescence. They get the supports back into play, but they need the damage. The health top-off isn't enough for this team to actually win.
They've got it back in here now as CAG still losing members, and the Wrecking Ball out means Patapan gets back to the point in time. CAG are the ones in desperation mode. Xavier getting those healers just in the nick of time has totally saved them here now as they are back at the full 6, and you cannot say the same for CAG as they lose their grasp on the defense at the last possible second, and Xavier again keep it alive for themselves. They need only hold out.
It was such a close finish as well. Call it a photo finish. It nearly didn't quite work out for Xavier Esports. They could have just finished at 90-ish kind of percent there, and CAG would have completed the full defense. But the reinforcements coming into time, 30 corner as well into the Moira with the coalescence, just able to top off Xavier Esports, allowing the rest of the members to come through. I asked where the damage was. Well, the damage came through when the Wrecking Ball came in, when the rest of Xavier Esports grouped up, were onto that point, received that healing, and with Cyclops at the gaming, they were unable to respond with any more kills of their own, despite that Dragon Blade coming out. And I gotta say now, Queen with that charge, disrupting the Dragon Blade, taking down Tayo was absolutely huge.
Now on the defense, one has to say Xavier had their work cut out for them. The unfortunate reality is, if CAG cap out with some time, starts to look a little rough for Xavier, but Xavier are in a position where they at least have a shot at winning, a very genuine shot. If they can hold out on B, as nearly happened to them, then they take this one off CAG. They keep it alive, and they maybe begin a reverse sweep, but it is still a tall ask.
CAG are known to have drop maps. It was a very close series into the quarterfinals. A narrow 3-2 victory against EXL Esports, even in the regular season. CAG only got 1-4-0 victory across all 5 matches they played. Every other match, they dropped at least 1 map. So for CAG, again, I reiterate, it is not uncommon to see them drop maps. But for Xavier Esports, they would have to win 3 in a row. They would have to force that out of CAG, where no other team has done so far.
That's the thing, they're known to drop maps, but beating them in a series is an entirely different thing, and maybe Xavier can do it. Certainly Talon couldn't just, or rather EXL couldn't just yesterday. Opening pick on Sabagod, raised straight back up. Gives Patapan some ultimate charge.
It's an important little slowdown right now. We'll see how long Xavier can keep this one up. 33% now for Patapan. And definitely keeping CAG locked down here, suppressed, and CAG want to be able to push, but Patapan is landing some nice shots. Headshot again onto Samurai is again going to slow things down for CAG.
And again, it means Patapan pulls way ahead in the ultimate charge. Not the most high impact of ultimates, but it just makes it a little bit harder for Tayo to hit those flanks. Finds them anyway on THK. Pre-infra sight from Patapan, and that's an opening now for CAG.
Here comes the opening dive as well. One member still down for Xavier. Has respawned, but has to come the long way back from spawn.
Straight back on to Tay as well. He's in trouble. No, gets Tayo and now Sabagod down, even as Olivier gets the mechs. And with that, Xavier are looking not too shabby. The tanks of Cyclops Athlete Gaming want to stick in this though. Dep's making it work for them, and it took a long time to demech Kenma Hororo. Nearly got back in it. Xavier, 2 lean on members here, even as THK continues cleaning up kills, just because you got to consider the closer respawn for CAG. They choose to stay in this fight, and they can afford to do so.
That's why they get to reinforce as well. About to get that 1 tick, they expect them to also finish this cap. It is technically still on their first attempt, so you give that one over to them. They don't have too many ultimates just about to charge a few, so they should be able to have at least a Dragon Blade with the Primal Rage going into that B push. If Patapan can maybe get an opening pick here, it would be huge for Xavier Esports. But this first defense and the first push from CAG onto B is the most important one.
It's the hardest one. It's the one where CAG, with these ultimates up, can snowball in. The other thing that would be huge for Xavier is if they can get a Transcendence before losing too many members, because right now they don't have it to counter out Tayo's Dragon Blade. If he recognizes that window and pounces on it, Xavier could be in big trouble.
Just got to charge the infra site up, give Tayo some information to play with. Now you know where everyone's hiding, and now you know where you want to blade in as well.
Tay is so close to that Transcendence. They haven't quite got it just yet as they lose Olivier's mech. The window is closing though for a high impact Dragon Blade. Might not even need it. Queen's got to pop a Primal Rage here. There is a Transcendence from Sabagod to match the
so many members down.
Tayo still holding on to this Dragon Blade. A threat held above the heads of Xavier like an executioner's axe. Speaking of executed, Samurai are not going to get out from that scrap alive. And Xavier, they've lost members, but they've also killed a few members.
There we go.
CAG haven't really got a lot of kills in their own right. Opening this Dragon Blade out, he's not got anything for it here, Tayo, and he will end up slowly getting beaten back now on the cusp of death. And I think CAG have to accept that they cannot continue this push.
They probably waited a little bit too long there for CAG. Didn't even get 1 check on the progress board, and that's very disappointing considering how good their initial push in was. They got so many kills. Dep coming through that Widowmaker result, landed so many shots, just waiting for the follow-up from the rest of their members. Transcendence was used in there, Primal Rage was used in there, and unfortunately the Dragon Blade a little bit late, didn't quite get any kills, fully resetting CAG, and Xavier get to breathe a sigh of relief. They defend that first attempt.
And they also massively disrupt CAG's macro game. Xavier are now in a position where they can really start to dig in their heels. It's a long time before Cyclops Athlete Gaming have a high impact offensive ultimate at their disposal.
Right now we're waiting to see how these double support ultimates play out for both teams. In fact, maybe Tayo charges up another blade. He's not too far off right now, about 4 minutes remaining for this offense. And CHG looking for that opening pick. If they can find it, they can really blow open the gates.
They didn't quite get it on Queen, and now those support ultimates are there, plus a Primal Rage coming up soon. Here's a Dragon Blade for Teo, though. The window is closing. Teo, what can he find? Back onto Thittercorn, hasn't closed it out. The Coalescence there, plus the Transcendence means the Blade gets put away. Now it's Patapan's turn, and there is a Transcendence to counter out some of it. Neither Genji getting anything done with those ultimates, unfortunately, but it profits Xavier. They're the ones with more ultimates at their disposal now, and they get the first kill of the fight. Would you believe it's taken this long? And they pop Sabagard. Queen is going to anchor the defense for his team.
And Xavier Esports are popping the same ultimate CAG are. They're responding in equal measure. Both Dragon Blades didn't find their mark, but one Primal Rage did when the other one did not. And that is Queen able to get 2 in that kills, and then 1 more onto Tyro as their team is retreating. And once again, it's Xavier Esports with 1 extra minute bled off the attacking time. Xavier hold yet again, and also Depp dying at such a crucial moment as the rally came up alive. Queen shut him down.
Cyclops Athlete Gaming, though, this time they are starting to come up on those high impact ultimates because that fight went on so long. You're actually seeing Teo already coming back up on a Dragon Blade. Patapan will have one of his own soon. Last fight, neither got anything with it. Maybe this fight, bit of a different story.
Very key to keep Patapan alive here. If he goes down, things will go very badly for Xavier Esports. No Transcendence from Tay just yet.
Oh, but they still killed Teo. Tay doesn't need a Transcendence to make that happen, and Teo dead means suddenly Xavier looking good on the defense. Now they do commit the Transcendence just to be sure. The raise comes in onto Teo. They do just decide to call the retreat.
No, they don't.
Yeah, Xavier starts to overextend just a tad now. Good catch again onto Teo, but CAG, this is where they can start to pull ahead.
Patapan has to come through with the Dragon Blade very quickly, and it has to be sure about it as well. Has to get the kills because CAG are on the point. They're looking for progress. 1 minute 55.
Olivier's got a self-destruct soon. Queen nearly has a Primal Rage. Patapan as well, getting the kill on Samurai. CAG still not getting the upper hand. They drew Xavier out just a touch and then got kills, but they couldn't get the rest. They couldn't get that overwhelming numbers advantage.
This time it was expensive for CAG because they did commit the Dragon Blade out of Tyro, but also the double support ultimates coming out of Claire. And Sabagard now a big change up in the ultimate economy for CAG and their composition. Xavier sitting pretty at 4. Thirtycon going to change himself into a Moira, and for CAG, they need time to set this up. If Tyro wants to get an EMP in there, he's only going to be having enough time to maybe get the 1.
They may just lose this fight in order to gain that EMP. It's a bit of a devil's bargain, that one. They may just have to take it. May just have to sign the soul over, as it were. And Xavier, there's Patapan pulling out the blade. Already got Claire. And if they can pull more ultimates out, CAG, this would be great if they can force more from Xavier. But Xavier don't need to commit more, so they won't. They've got the kills anyway, and that means they preserve these other tools they have. And Patapan, hacked out as he is still going to be able to kill Teo.
That was originally a very quick retreat from Cyclops Athlete Gaming as well. Xavier Esports pulled that blade and only got themselves 1 kill. Most importantly now, as CAG do get that full reset themselves, they are very close to the EMP. They have to cap out the entire map now. All 3 ticks of this B point in 1 attempt. They can definitely do it, but will take a lot to happen. Xavier still have legs in this. They still have a Transcendence coming up. They still have double tank ultimates. CAG have much less.
Here's the tricky thing. Even if the EMP cancels out those tank ultimates, CAG will still have to deal with them when those members respawn. At some point, they have to outlast the Primal Rage and avoid the self-destruct. Those 2 ultimates alone could complete the defense. There's the EMP on top, which means no Transcendence from Tay. He goes down. Queen and Olivier cannot commit their own ultimates. Patapan can't pull out the Dragon Blade. Goes down to the Coalescence, and now they're starting to get the kills in. Queen will get a Primal Rage, though, and the self-destruct from Olivier goes wide. Ken Mahororo, same again. Samurai is low, still alive. It's Queen looking to go down. They have kept a lid on them, and now it's just Patapan's blade. THK as well will have a rally soon, and Tay can commit the Transcendence. The blade is out. Despite the hack, Depp gets the kills in, and Patapan only takes 1 on Sabagard. They are on the cusp now of capping it out, of going to time bank. But Xavier, they're not out just yet. They can still stabilize. Maybe if Queen can get some kills, the respawns are so much further for CAG. And there's another one for Queen. There's another one for Queen. Mario hopping about. Maybe he can do it. And by the time he's dead, a few more are on the point. THK can't rally in time. Yes, he can. Just barely. The armor is such a boon here. And CAG slowly, inexorably getting beaten back, have not got those extra kills even as they attempt to reinforce with the Wrecking Ball. They lose Sabagot again. They lose Depp again. Samarida is getting drilled down. Kenma Hororo out of the mech. And Xavier are at full fighting force. It will not be a time bag. Xavier keep their semi-final hopes alive.
And it's now going to be a 2-1 Xavier completing the miracle defense there. Just a few members coming back into time. There was a time there where it was 2 versus 1. THK, the last surviving member for Xavier Esports, pulls out the rally just in time, saving his own life, allowing the rest of his team to reinforce onto the cap. And then suddenly, CAG run out of resources. Suddenly, CAG run out of their ability to get kills. They get blown off that point. And with that, look, Xavier Esports keep their semi-finals hopes alive.
That's so huge for them as well. I mean, you can talk about all the maybe and can they, and now they have. We have a series on our hands. It is still match point for Cyclops Athlete Gaming. It's still a tough position for Xavier to be in, but they're proven that in that tough position, they can still win. We do know that CAG are known to drop maps. It's not the end of the world for them. They are still ahead in this series, but they are also in that position that teams so often find themselves in where the series slowly starts to slip through their fingers. Xavier can complete a reverse sweep here if CAG aren't careful.
The thing that Xavier need to be considerate of is how close that came down. They nearly didn't finish that cap themselves on that B point when they were attacking. They barely held that B defense against the Cyclops Athlete Gaming squad that just looked like they were about to finish capping. I mean, it was just that close to being a full loss for Xavier Esports, that close to being an 0-3 in the series, losing their semi-finals. But Xavier, they pull it through, but now they have to continue pulling it through. We have to go to a map 4. And they have to win this one as well if they want a tiebreak.
Escort as well. Game mode that CAG traditionally are quite strong on. That being said, it is a map where we've seen a lot of good things out of Xavier, especially with what they often are running here. It's tricky. I mean, look, we said at the top of the night, right, all bets are off. All of these teams are potentially very evenly matched. And look, the lowest seed team already won the first semi-final. It can absolutely happen here in that reverse sweep. We said don't sleep on Xavier. Don't count them out. They've been looking like dynamite these last couple of weeks, and they're in the semi-final for a reason. Now they're doing well. Now they might actually get this one back. If they take this to match point again, if we go to the full 5, it starts to get really scary if you're a fan of the Japanese.
You have to wonder for Xavier as well, if they can win, how far can they push that victory? Because so far, again, they only barely won Anubis, right? So if they can win Escort, they need to do so in a far more commanding fashion to give themselves the confidence to go into map 5 and have that advantage, to have the confidence to say, we can take this entire series, we can complete the reverse sweep. Because currently, you'd also say, despite CAG losing map number 3, you feel like it could have been their map. The momentum has not been lost. You haven't completely stopped that CAG freight train just yet. You've slowed it down, but you need to push it backwards.
And the tricky thing is, even if Xavier win this, they do go to that 5th map, Oasis, where just yesterday CAG were able to pull out the win. And you've lost against them earlier tonight on the control map. But they might not even get there in the first place. It'll all happen here on Rialto. And that's really the thing you've got to consider, right? It is one thing to see whether or not they can actually continue that success, win this one out. It's another thing entirely to then get the opposite result to earlier in the night on the control on a map that CAG are known for winning on historically.
Rialto was a big win for them last night against EXL Esports. A close victory, but a well-deserved one for CAG. You'd also say it's a well-deserved victory for Xavier Esports and Temple of Anubis. But currently looking at history, and this is where it's important to remember the past, in Week 2, it was Cyclops Athlete Gaming taking out the series 3-1. Currently, they may be on track to do it again 3-1, but maybe it will also be Xavier sending us to a map 5, but it has to start on Rialto.
For those of you interested as well, let's talk win rate for a brief moment. Much like Kings Road, this is a 100% win rate map for CAG. They didn't go to it every series. Only 3 times have they gone to it, but it's 3 times and 3 wins. Compare and contrast to Xavier, who again are at a 50% win rate. That is same as Kings Row, 2 wins and 2 losses. So if you look at how Kings Row went, you look at the history of these 2 teams on that map, you compare that to this map, you can see why CAG have picked it.
It's also Anakin coming back onto the far right here as well. Cyclops Athlete Gaming coming in with their best hits, Depp onto the Widowmaker, and it's going to be the exact response from Xavier Esports. 1-to-1 is how they're going to match.
And I always love seeing that dogfight, but it does tend to be that Anakin comes out the better of it. Certainly already leading in the ultimate charge arms race. Both teams running the same composition. We'll see who pulls it off better, because Kenma Hororo pops his counterpart. That's not normally the one that does it. Normally it's a Widow headshot or a couple of Pharaoh rockets that'll do it, but CAG starting to pull away with the lead. Ooh, pick on Sabagod though.
Well, I tell you, the body shots are equally as effective sometimes. If Depp lands a good one, you do see the tanks clean up that kill.
Oh.
Speaking of clean up right now, it's Patapan and THK doing the work.
That's an Earth Shatter from Samurai though. That does kind of take the wind out of the sails, but the kill on Anakin, no, Depp stabilized this one for CAG. And that's the thing, right? Feels like no matter how many kills you get, sometimes if you don't get Depp, he'll just kill the entirety of your team. Then you can always just throw a rocket at him.
Well, this is exactly where Xavier Esports can find their advantage, because Depp is down. He's very far away from getting a resurrection or a respawn. Xavier Esports have free time to push forward. You can see CAG kind of moving backwards here. They want to regroup with their team and have this final defense on this A point.
They should be able to get that defense. Xavier in this position because of the closer respawn. Now that becomes more neutral. So, committing to the fight. Xavier already popping a Valkyrie on Thitacorn. There's got to be the contest coming in, and they've already killed Sabagod. Queen is an Earthshatter at his disposal. Patches not quite, I don't think, but the grab to counter Patapan from the backside with the Rocket Barrage decides to turn his attention to Anakin after killing Samarida. Doesn't matter that he doesn't kill him because they've already got the point.
Both teams committed ultimates into that fight, and CAG are still the ones losing. Forced to back off now, Xavier capped through A, pushing through onto B, but CAG do get to walk away also with a decent number of members alive, and Patapan's dissuaded from wanting to chase further. Depp with the accurate shots is going to force him backwards.
And that's just the power of Depp, man. THK though, rather, is the one with the infrasight. And that does mean he gets a bit of an upper hand against Depp.
So the ultimate's coming online for CAG right now. Also members going offline. But there still is Transcendence, but not if THK gets these kills.
Putting his Depp shoes on. That's why this guy is in his own right a formidable Widowmaker. Xavier just keeping the aggression, keeping the momentum.
I want to say right now for Patapan and also THK, they don't need to put a lot of pressure onto Depp. I mean, they should want to, but the thing is, they're killing everyone else on CAG, so Depp can only do so much. They're relying on Depp to get the counter picks, but it hasn't always come through.
There's the grab to come out, and it's going to be an Earth Shatter in response, but it's Anakin getting a kill before going down that tips the tide of the battle, and Xavier now in full retreat. Patapan will try and bite a few back, but it's only a matter of time. Channels out the Rocket Barrage, actually finishes Kenma Hororo. This feels like potentially an overcommitment, but he's not dying yet, and Thitacorn's still in this as well. If Xavier can respawn and regroup, they come back in with an advantage.
Well, Xavier's still in a precarious position right now, because you say they like to respawn, you say they like to get an advantage, but CAG have a slightly closer spawn right now.
Shatter out from Queen though, that's again advantage over to Xavier as they pick up Anakin. Depp gets the shots back though, trying to answer out. Pressured as he is, Patapan finds that one, and Xavier again at the numbers advantage. Earth Shatter from Samarita right as he dies means no follow up. Xavier, so many low members, but crucially not dead members. Compare that to CAG.
And Anakin you'd expect to be the far right hero, but it's been Patapan that have been raining rockets so effectively. Anakin's been shut down, and you look at Depp to find some of these counter trades as well, but Depp has also been going down to Patapan. A Farah killing a Widowmaker. Don't see that one every day, but for Xavier Esports, Patapan's been keeping these fights alive for so long, and this is the first time in a long time that Xavier Esports have been fully pushed backwards, fully reset, and allow CAG to fully engage this defense.
And it felt like it was a very slight thing for CAG. They nearly pushed back Xavier, but not quite. Xavier came back in, and then CAG just barely pushing them back again. It's been tough on this defense so far, and Xavier still have plenty of time.
Ultimates on both sides as well. Rocket Barrage available on both sides, but only one team actually has the Graviton Surge to combo with. It's going to be up to both THK and Panipan to maybe shut Anakin down when that combo inevitably comes in.
Self-destruct forward catches Anakin, means they can't get that combo, but Depp can still just find headshots. Thetacorn means no reses. But same is true now for CAG as Claire gets popped. Catching the members, though, is Samarita. And with that, again, Xavier are going to get repelled. CAG are going to hold out for a little bit longer.
That's the Panipan kill tags. Look at that. Even despite Xavier losing, he's able to get 3 kills, including Depp. This is something you expect CAG to do. When CAG are losing, Depp somehow finds kills. He somehow finds headshots. But right now, it's Panipan on the Farah that is able to get these exit kills so successfully every time.
And it's just been so durable. I mean, even sometimes when Depp's been alive, Patapan's just straight not died. That's not what you'd expect for how scary Depp has been with these headshots.
So we're going to respect Panipan as well, the ultimate player on the Xavier side, and its ultimate player, Panipan and Depp trading almost equally.
It just feels like an arms race, a competition almost between these two. But it is a competition that this time around Xavier have won, especially as THK headshots out his counterpart, and the Queen res is there. They keep that one in. He wants to break free. He gets saved. I don't know, how many more Queen puns can I come up with? But the point cap comes out. That's the more crucial thing.
Right now, Xavier Esports making up for some lost time, perhaps less than 2 minutes, to try and get this push over the line for that final point as well. Dip going down to THK. It's something THK has been doing in a more successful fashion. You don't expect him to be winning this many duels, but he is. Xavier Esports, they've struggled throughout the entire series to seriously neuter Dip's threat, but right now, it seems to be working in their favor.
For once, just not having quite that same impact. It's going to be double in for side out. Everyone knows where everyone is. There is no hiding. And that means that it's just going to be an out-and-out brawl in the daylight.
We'll look to see where the combos come in as well. Waiting for Graviton Surge from Olivier. Don't want to wait too long because Queen's already down.
Yeah, it's a little unfortunate for Xavier, especially with the headshot out on THK. Depp bites back, and he bites back hard. Finds Patapan too. And this is the Depp we've been expecting. CAG now only a minute left for Xavier, and they start to entrench on this point C.
It's a difficult point to take as well if you're an attacking team because the chokes are so narrow, the respawns are so close for defenders. But once you can get past those double doors, things start to look a lot better. THK going to come back as the McCree and 5 all the ultimates to deal with from the Xavier side. You got to think this has to be the push because they don't really have a lot of time left. This may be the only push.
Thing is, CAG have the same critical combos, and there they are straight out. Patapan gets it first, but he immediately gets shut down. Now it's CAG's turn. They're going to throw their own rocket barrage out, and they get just that little bit more out of the rest of the members in the ground game. Xavier, they lose Tay. Depp still popping off here as they're just getting beaten back.
And the reset has not happened just as Xavier still losing members. Queen's going to watch his life. Olivier goes down as well. They need to get their members back. There's only 10 seconds remaining for Xavier Esports, and they were nowhere near this point.
And there's still Earth Shatter available for Samarita. Oh, you call it Reinhardt chicken? Well, Samarita's a raging bull. Earth Shatter goes down. THK gets popped, and they're going to clean up the last of these members now. No cap out for Xavier, and that means that their work on the defense is made just that much harder. CAG have the victory in their sights now.
CAG had the groundwork in there as well. You look at that point A defense, go to point B as well. Some major slowdowns, especially on the B. And it doesn't matter how much kill tax is available for Panipan and Xavier Esports. They need to be winning fights, and they struggle for so long to actually win a fight onto B, and they did not have enough time to get to cap C as well. Only 2 minutes is what they had to cap C, and it was not enough.
Oh boy. The thing that Xavier are really going to need on this defense is going to be the thing that CAG didn't get against them. And that's a good hold on point A. If they can just bleed more time out of CAG on that initial alleyway leading into the point A courtyard, then even ideally get a subsequent hold just before the point cap goes over, that is where they can run the clock out for CAG and maybe complete the defense somewhere else down the line before the cart reaches that point. Otherwise, they are done.
That is assuming that Xavier Esports do not fully hold A or B to start with, which is definitely a possibility. We've seen many teams not complete this map. We've seen many teams falter at that A point, if not that B point. So much time gets lost onto A. It's a very difficult point to push for a lot of attacking teams, and it could still be a difficult point to push for CAG.
It's just so close for them, isn't it? Still at match point. Weren't quite able to do it on Anubis, and it looked like that very winnable situation there as well. But just not quite. Xavier, they are taking those opportunities to win when they have them. They are finding the ways. They are making it happen.
The other thing that Xavier are making happen right now is they are really taking these fights to CAG in their own manner, which is to say, they're not relying on goats. There's no triple tank, triple supports going out here. It's about the Widowmakers. It's about the Pharah plays, and THK and Pattypan have done very well in that regard.
It's kind of beating CAG at their own game. Depp and Anakin are notorious for those two heroes, and yet so often it's been Pattypan absolutely nailing it on the Pharah. Already seeing that again, leading ever so slightly in the ultimate charge, and wins the dogfight.
Let's see what Depp can do in response. Well, maybe it's going to be THK pressuring him out. It is a 5 versus 6. CAG is still waiting for their first pick of this offense as well. The cart does continue to push, but you don't expect it to push for too long.
Oh, and another one. This is what we said Xavier really needed. They need to get kills in this choke point before the cart breaks into the courtyard. The kill on Pattypan, not too impactful. He gets rezzed up. And the kill on Claire is going to have much more time lost now for CAG, and a late one on Samarita.
This is already being a very slow start for CAG. 1 minute already off the clock. The cart positioning is barely through that choke point, and they need to be able to push through. Not going to waste too much extra time because Samurai are going to get Rez back in. Depp looking for that flank as well. If he can find some decent angles, that could be his way to headshots.
They have actually broken that point now. Xavier didn't really provide much more resistance on that last little bit. I think they were just respecting that Queen wasn't able to get back with the team in time. And speaking of, already down and both teams trading mercies. It means technically CAG are ahead in the fight, but it also makes the fights just that much more deadly. Depp having to hide from THK, but THK having to hide in kind. Anakin sniffs him out, shoots him down, and CAG now looking on form to start capping out.
This is now the big player advantage that CAG have been waiting for. Xavier might still be able to defend. Olivier's in, Queen's in, and the bubbles are out.
They do have just enough members to start a defense here. The question is whether they'll be able to finish it. They actually need to win the fight, and CAG also at full fighting force.
No
catches Tay has got to be the biggest kill of the fight, and it's the first one as well. It's on Xavier to find some way to answer, turn it back around. Earthshatter from Queen never quite connected with the ground. He was dead before the hammer made it there, and Pattypan's rocket barrage feeling like it's coming in just a tad too late. Savagod here, still alive. Tay not so lucky as the Transcendence runs out, and Samurai are going to steer the payload safe to the terminus.
So much force coming out of CAG here. Note that respawns is still very good on that 8 point. Depp's going to take down Pattypan, and eventually they survive all of the pressure from CAG. That first headshot onto Tay was so crucial. It took so long for the resurrection to come back into play. By the time the Transcendence was actually in, CAG were already winning the fight.
Now they've got a huge battery of ultimates coming up, some real high-impact tools that they should be able to use to keep the momentum on their side throughout the remainder of B.
Pattypan's actually given up playing the fire right now, wants to go onto the Hanzo to enable this double sniper and to also enable this Grav Dragon, but it's going to be Grav Rocket Barrage first.
Straight
and it is
through the
effective.
shields. That is so massive from CAG, and Xavier just no resistance there.
Moving through now, it is also going to still be this Valkyrie online, but for Xavier Esports, they're just still losing members. They're not able to regroup quite in time just yet. Olivier, or rather Anakin's able to just kind of keep track of where the Xavier defense members are. Samurai are just waiting on side. Earthshatter available.
It's a great catch onto Anakin, but the trade is there. Earthshatter from Samarita. Now they start to get the follow-up. THK's got eyes out for Depp, but it's Depp who's spotted THK first. Charge
Long
in.
range.
Yeah, not looking in that direction. You got to check your blind spots, buddy. And now Xavier, again, just losing more members than they are getting back in kills on CAG. They kill Samurai at long last, but it's looking like, no, hold on a second. Patapan's answered one back, and with the res in, Xavier beginning to stabilize.
We're looking for this Graviton Surge out of Ken Mahororo, possibly looking to use it here as well. Does in fact do so.
Feels like it's a bit late though, because there's not so many people to follow up on it. Ken Mahororo follows up on his own, and this is now a tricky situation. Earthshatter from Queen though looks like it's going to be the final note on this fight. Signed and dotted. Xavier will hold.
It's ultimates traded for more ultimates here. 2 minutes still remaining for CAG, which means they can still get that 1 minute 30 extra time when they, or assuming they do can't be at this rate. The Graviton Surge and Transcendence available for Xavier Esports going to make things quite difficult, and the Dragon Strike available as well. Grav Dragon combo is still very good here because Sabagod does not have Transcendence back.
That's the unfortunate truth of it all. Xavier, it's not too long left for CAG. There they go out with the Grav Dragon combo itself. It only kills Samurai. That's probably enough to deter CAG for now, given that they don't have ultimates, and Patapan follows up with a kill on Claire. Should be able to res Olivier back as well.
It's a 1-for-2 kill trade, but at the same time, it was also Xavier Esports using 2 ultimates. They only actually caught Queen inside the Graviton Surge, so he was the only one going down. And this fight does continue because CAG regrouped so effectively.
They also didn't res Olivier, so he's taken the long walk back, has regrouped, but Patapan is going to ensure that that fight win sticks. Make sure that it counts and make sure that Xavier don't crumble too quickly to a regrouped CAG.
Now we're also waiting to see where this Anakin Dragon, or rather this Anakin Rocket Barrage does come from. Not too many threats on the other side now to block it out. Just that Transcendence. THK may be landing a good headshot finally for CAG. Looking for a lot of their own ultimates, nearly up to 5, and this has to be where they find advantage. They can't win here when Xavier are down and out in terms of the ultimates. I'm not too sure where they can win because they are running out of time. 30 seconds just about remaining for the remainder of this push.
CAG, already getting the headshot. Don't even need the ultimates, but immediately headshot back. All the reses being committed in now. Both teams situation neutral. Who will draw first blood in earnest?
It's Anakin trying to find an angle. He's so desperate to get this Rocket Barrage out, and for good reason. CAG need to be able to win this fight, or they're gonna go to a tiebreaker.
There's the Valkyrie out. Earthshatter catches Ken Mahororo on his back, but they don't quite close out the kill. There's a barrage in from Anakin as Ken Mahororo goes down, but trades all even Stevens between the two teams, and CAG are out of tools, out of cooldown. Xavier fast coming up on some of their own, and they pick Savagard and Depp. Olivier does get answered back, but it's not looking like it'll be enough. Samurai has really got his work cut out for him, and with Claire dead, no res, Samurai is down. Xavier, they've got to do it here. They've got a holds brewing, and it's looking like Anakin will be the last laugh on the point, giggling away as that wrecking ball. Xavier holds. We go the full 5.
And it has to be for CAG a full 5 maps in their quarterfinals, in their semi-finals. And for Xavier Esports, when it looks unlikely, they pull through with the victory on Temple of Anubis, and then with the victory now on Rialto as well. And Tay, this man of the Zenyatta was getting so many kills right at the end that he saved his team. Volley onto Anakin mid, Rocket Barrage, then collecting kills onto other members, supporting THK and collecting both Samurai and Claire as the last CAG members were trying to regroup for that final attempt onto B.
I mean, we talked about that reverse sweep possibility we were saying on Temple of Anubis as it was starting to look like CAG wouldn't cap at match point, seeing the series slip through their fingers, and now it's match point either way. We go to the tiebreaker, we go to the decider on control, and the fear starts to become very palpable for CAG. They did win control earlier tonight on Lijiang Tower, and that was the one you would have said Xavier were a bit more favored on, but it's still scary. It still doesn't feel safe.
It never really does, not for either team, I should probably add as well. But there is momentum now in favor for Xavier Esports, but what we will need to wait for is to see who can win this series. We are going to go through a quick break first, though, but when we do come back, it will be the conclusion of the semi-final. Who joins Talon in the grand finals in September? Find out after this break. For CAG, only 50% for Xavier Esports. Both teams have played 4 times, and Samurai is going to be playing the Wrecking Ball.
This is already a bit of a spicy change-up, but Anakin over onto the Sparrow.
There's only one support for CAG, by the way. Sabagon and Sombra.
This is a little bit interesting. It's essentially a triple DPS, and it's paying off. They get Thitticon, and that's very important. Means that the rest of these kills will stick, and it also means that there's only a solo support on Xavier, as there is for CAG. The triple DPS explosive in the favor of Cyclops Athlete Gaming.
And it's working so well because Depp is picking up kills. As soon as CAG rolled out, they picked up a support player on the Xavier side, and then doesn't matter that they're only running one support because Xavier effectively only then have one support. Cyclops Athlete Gaming are taking a page out of Talon Esports playbook right now with that triple DPS.
And currently this Wrecking Ball proving to be a bit of a curveball for Xavier. Even as they don't have as many members playing that ground game, they're still able to find picks with it, open up opportunities.
I'll tell you what other ball this is. It's a fast ball as well. CAG looking for that initial dive.
Oh,
Like Padipan so quickly.
Ken Mahororo's having a ball right now playing this Diva. Just the unbridled aggression. There's the trade though onto Claire. That's the only support need we be reminded. Thitticon though going down in the trade. They are starting to get some kills the way of themselves though, Xavier. Even as they're struggling, even as it is taking time, stick onto Ken Mahororo's mech means he will not get back in it. And Xavier with the sound barrier have steered themselves through the thick of it. Samurai though, oh wow, double back to kill a couple of members of Xavier. If they're not going to win this fight, they'll at least extend the time on the point.
That's 54% rather for CAG after they actually win a couple of fights and then lose Claire in the middle of their next fight. They still actually keep hands on the point, legs on that point, continue ticking up despite not having a single healer. They use a couple of ultimates, but save the rest. Now they have all this to use. They have an EMP into play. Anakin does go down, but there is a res.
The only res they got though. They've got so many ultimates. There's the EMP very quick in, but it doesn't catch too much. They haven't got the quick kill conversion off it either. Finally getting Tay now. Really need to get Thitticon. He's coming up on a Valkyrie. CAG have those other ultimates as well, but they haven't had a good chance to use them. Claire's down. And once again, as soon as that solo healer dies, it's disastrous. Ken Mahororo didn't even get a chance to get out of that situation. The rest of the team already dead.
Here's the opportunity for CAG. Because Sabagon has already used the EMP, he can change onto a support and he goes onto the Zenyatta. Now there isn't that sort of ultimate tax that he has to pay. It is now double support. Samurai are going to go into Winston. Experimentation is over and buffer time is over too. It's been 54% for both teams and Xavier continued ticking up.
And that means that CAG did at least get something out of it. They got some success, but you're right, now they have to change things up if they want to get any more. Otherwise, this just starts to slip away from them.
You really value that healing. You really value this one ultimate and the pulse bomb from Depp as well. He needs to find something big if Cyclops Athlete Gaming want to get their feet back on the point.
Valkyrie out from Thitticon now as the dive starts to come in. Xavier pressuring out the point itself. CAG on it.
Now that'll
Xavier
work.
Come down to answer. Padapan dead means they can't just keep him free up on that high ground. And in the brief moment before he's back in the action, they pick off Queen. And now Cyclops Athlete Gaming advantage on the ground. And Xavier haven't really answered back. They're just starting to take a bit much damage here. No extra kills just yet. Here's the answer back now on Samurai. Self-destruct from Olivier finds Depp as well. 99% now for Xavier. The sound barrier out on these members as well. Where are the kills for CAG? They're just not getting any.
Those double support ultimates used by CAG as well. One res to come into play, but they have to cap. They have to get kills.
They've not got them, and Ken Mahororo out of the mech will not get back in it. Xavier, they still have all these members up as they reinforced CAG at far below full strength as now they lose depth as well. And this overtime has stayed present for a very long time, but it's not going to last much longer. Xavier going to go 1-0 up on Oasis.
This is exactly where EXL got their one-round win on Oasis against CAG in the quarterfinals as well. The difference was this was a little bit later into that map. CAG at an 0-1 deficit already in this tiebreaker. If they lose another one, if they lose University, they're all done. But if they win, guess what? We go back to Gardens.
You want it so bad for both these teams. I feel like this has got to be scripted, right? Surely CAG win here so that we go to that Gardens. It's the only place history ever gets made for this roster for Cyclops Athlete Gaming, whether it's losing to Australia, whether it's beating EXL. But if they're going to get there, they've got to get past University.
And it's going to be Xavier Esports coming out with their tried and true double shield tanks. It's not quite the GOATs this time around, but it is THK on the McCree, Patty Pan onto the Farah.
And he's been matching Anakin. Why not? Especially when you've got THK to increase the pressure tenfold on that Farah out of Anakin. Samurai is down first. Headshot to Kenma Hororo. And that's already the opening skirmish, landsliding the way of Xavier. A few bite back for Cyclops Athlete Gaming, but it's just not enough. Xavier have control of the point at match point.
And Patty Pan is the airshot king right now. He's the king of the skies, taking down Anakin successfully, who's been forced off the Farah himself, responding with his own McCree. And this is Xavier Esports potentially finding that initial, they find the exact composition they've been working towards. This is the one that could give them the victory.
We questioned whether they had more tricks up their sleeve after their GOATs, pseudo-GOATs composition stopped working. The answer was yes, but now as Anakin onto the McCree, gets one charge in on Queen and he goes down mid-train. Now Xavier hemorrhaging members themselves. Sabagod even the one to find Olivier. CAG should be able to wrest control of this point back. They are not out just yet.
That's been 4 kills in a row from Anakin right now, coming strong onto McCree. You thought this man could only play the Farah. He proves you wrong. THK wants to play the McCree as well. Cowboy, there's only room for one in this town.
Speaking of, good heavens, would you look at the time? Both coming up to that dead eye. THK will get there just a little bit earlier. Anakin's going to be the one who has on the defense, and that's often just a little bit more impactful. Who's going to get the opening pick? Oh, THK's down. That's big, but traded back. Now, Xavier, they've got some ultimates. They need to get them onto the point. Both those deaths now raised back in. CAG, oh, Patapan down to his counterpart, and still CAG ahead in this one. THK not getting anything with this dead eye. No good angle. CAG avoid it, and now they're getting ahead in this fight. Anakin, that's how you dead eye, and with that, CAG will maintain their control of the point.
And that is a big loss for Xavier Esports. Look at the ultimate charge right now. They've been bled completely dry. Olivier is the only one that is close. Maybe he gets this Graviton Surge, but they have to run in quickly right now. Xavier Esports going onto the full GOATs composition. There's not going to be anything different here. It is the exact GOATs comp, and they get blown up.
Already completely cut down and raked across by a Dragon Strike, and Xavier making those big changes. They would have had time maybe to charge up ultimates if that fight had lasted longer. It was over so fast. Xavier have nothing to go on for what is potentially the last fight of University.
And Samurai, that trick didn't work against EXL, but Xavier are a different team, and Xavier are getting a little bit desperate right now. 80% plus. The shadow did come down, and Anakin's finding a ton of shots, but now Olivier has that Graviton Surge. It's Xavier's turn to play the game.
They've got to find a good angle on it, trying to commit it in. It's okay, but it's not great. Olivier's low. Kenma Hororo's alive still. They finally finish Claire. Tay gets one too, but they're trading back. Queen is now down. No tank line for Xavier at the 99% mark, and Anakin and Depp both coming up on big, high-impact ultimates. Sabagod steers them safe with the Transcendence, but Anakin's down. They go aggressive with the Coalescence out, and they will get the point back just barely at that 99%. Oh, late catch on Thitacorn. CAG could have a window on the re-engage.
That's a very important fight win for Xavier Esports themselves, getting themselves 2 ultimates to fight back with Rally already being used. Anakin now being pushed back onto the Farah. What a time to go back on. He can counter out this entire GOATs comp with the long-range rocket spam. And there's also a potential Grav Dragon as well. This is exactly the kind of push CAG need.
They've got so many great tools, and there's the Grav straight out already. The Dragon across it as well. Xavier alive though, just barely. No, Queen finally goes. Patapan canter out of self-destruct.
No remake.
But he won't get back in it exactly. And now CAG, they got an Earth Shatter too to look to close things out. Xavier, not enough tools, not enough members, not enough for anything in 99%. Also not enough progress. We even it up. We do it. We're going to go the full distance again with this team, and we go to Gardens.
Nowhere else would it be fitting to end for Cyclops Athlete Gaming. Nowhere else for this series, this journey through Contenders, their first ever Contenders as a professional team. 5-0 in the regular season, a quarterfinal that maybe they weren't even expected to win. EXL pushed them to the absolute limits, and now Xavier have done the same. It is 1-1 into the final map, 2-2 on the map score. Anything can still happen here.
And Cyclops Athlete Gaming, they have lost it here, they have won it here, but it has always happened here. What better place for this absolute bout of the ages to come to its culmination?
And no matter who wins Pixie, history will be made. It could be a Japanese team into the grand finals for the first time, or a Thai team into the grand finals for the first time. There will be a winner, there will be a loser, but both teams can be pleased.
And also both teams still pulling out this Barra. This is where Anakin is legendary for it, but he's dead. He's also the first casualty of this fight on Gardens here. Xavier have control of the ground, fighting Claire as well. There's Samurai going down. Xavier, they win the opening skirmish this time. They take control, and it's pressure on for CAG to answer.
Xavier are so quick to respond to CAG as well. They just find the picks, dive completely in depth, the late death. Going to be staggered out 10% plus now for Xavier Esports. That opening fight is so important. We've seen so many control games go the way of the winners of that opening fight. It's up to CAG now to see what they can do in response. And Depp not going to waste any of his own time responding with a Tracer.
This is such a nail biter. My fingers are practically down to stumps at this point. Xavier, they are just barely coming up on ultimates here, but before they do, there's a window for CAG. If they can get the opening pick, which they do, they outflank, and Samurai catches his counterpart. Kenma Hororo finds Patapan in the skies, and there's the counterattack that the Japanese squad needed. They are going to wrest control back off this point as soon as they can close out these last few kills.
CAG were not expected to win that fight. They clutch it through. THK looking for the pulse bomb, but guess what? Sabagod's looking for the headshots. He finds the kill to THK, who now uses the pulse bomb. Gets Sabagod, but guess what? The point's about to go over. You're right, it is too late.
He does also take out Claire though, and that gives Xavier a window for the re-engage, but they need to be careful. They've bought more time, but these extra deaths actually just mean CAG will regroup. They're still winning the fight as well. Xavier though, they've now put themselves in a situation where if they get control of the point back, CAG are in trouble.
It's 6 ultimates though for CAG. It is unlikely for them to lose this fight. They would have to completely throw these ultimates, not get any value to lose right now. Xavier Esports have opportunity. They themselves have 3 ultimates, but it's up to CAG to really make this value and the advantage count.
Ooh, the dogfight. Every time it's gone the way of Patapan. Usually it's the other way around. Depp, though, he's answered one back. No res from either team. There's the barrage from Patapan. He's dead, though. He only got Kenma Hororo's mech. And all the ultimates used here for CAG. Just about. Anakin trying to come back in with a barrage. They res Ken. He gets back in the mech. Now, Xavier, they've still got tools. Ditacorn's dead. There's the barrage from Anakin now. Depp wrapping around the backside. And Xavier, not enough members alive still. They had to both commit so many ultimates, but CAG keep hold of the point.
Patapan has been such a huge hero for Xavier Esports right now. He's been the clutch player. He reminds me of a Poodle on Mega, and for good reason. You want to be reminded of him because right now Patapan is making such huge clutch plays. That opening kill to Amber can absolutely open up the point for Xavier Esports. And guess what? CAG used 5 of their 6 ultimates just to defend.
Depp and THK having a bit of a gentleman's duel there, Olivier. Self-destruct out to make space, doesn't get any kills, but it gets Xavier onto the point and in the fight in earnest. There's the first kill, but a better stick goes out onto Thitacorn. They're still treading back and forth. Anakin takes one with him to the grave, even as he goes down, and Patapan too low to stay in it.
Oh boy.
THK's dead, 80% now. Last chance for Xavier.
This is it. This is the respawn that really counts now. No ultimates for anybody. The first couple of ultimates is going to really count. 90% almost for CAG, and for Xavier right now, they need to regroup fast. They need to re-enter fast. Everything has got to go quick.
94, 95%. Cyclops Athlete Gaming looking to punch their ticket to a final. One fight in the way, and Anakin finally gets one back on Patapan. That's the opening kill in the fight. Res from Thetacorn attempted, but not yet successful. Here's the Valkyrie out from him now, but the same one to come from Claire in just a moment. Savagot picked just shy of a Transcendence. Xavier, Thetacorn, he's in trouble. He's down. Resing THK. It costs him dearly. Claire, on the other hand, still alive in this fight. And Cyclops Athlete Gaming, they are maintaining control, maintaining their calm. Olivier does get one back, and it's still so even. It's still anyone's fight, but with Tay down, it's looking like it's sliding the way of Cyclops Athlete Gaming. And there they go, the tanks to fall. It's going to happen. It's just a few kills away within their grasp. They take it, they seize it, and they run it all the way home. Cyclops Athlete Gaming are going to the finals.
A dream continues for this Japanese squad. You gotta believe right now it is possible. 2 back-to-back best of 5s. What is even going on here? Gardens is again where it just has to end in the final moments as well. Xavier Esports have put up a hell of a fight, a hell of a semi-finals. They're gonna be there anyway, part of the squad. Patty Pan and Saijika, don't forget, they're in that Thai World Cup squad. They're still going to Bangkok, but it is Cyclops Athlete Gaming. They go there as a unified squad. They're going to get to go to 2 World Cup stages themselves. In South Korea, representing Japan, and then again as Cyclops Athlete Gaming in Bangkok later on. This is a legendary performance out of them. They're going to meet Talon there in that grand finals. And the Royal Road is still available. They can still walk that. A new team coming into Contenders, reaching that grand finals. The best result we've ever seen for a Japanese squad. It was the best result at the quarterfinals. It was the best result at first place in the group. You could keep going down the list, and they will not be stopped.
And they might just go all the way too. Your heart breaks though for Xavier. They put up such an incredible fight, came into this as the 3rd place seed out of that very same group that CAG topped with the 5-0. But in the last couple of weeks, they really just hit their stride, looked like dynamite, looked like they could be a threatening team coming into the playoffs. And indeed, that came to fruition. 3-0'd Machi out. Machi, who nearly finished first in their own group and absolutely devastated them in the quarterfinal. Now push CAG, who they lost to several weeks ago, to that full Game 5. Nearly had it in their own right, and it just slipped away. Could have had that finals in front of the home crowd, but they aren't quite going to go there. They will have to watch from the high seats. And I do hope they get a booth, but they will be watching instead of playing. It's CAG who get to take that stage and take their shot at winning that Contenders crown.
I gotta say, Japan are gonna be there, but so is Thailand. Again, Team Thailand definitely represent themselves at the Bangkok stage, but let's have a wrap up here of the quarterfinals and the semis. You saw Monster Shield take it over to Blank to go to semis, Talon take it over to Hong Kong Attitude, EXL falling over to CAG, and then Xavier with that sweep over Machi. Then, earlier this evening, Monster Shield, the first seeded team from Group A, go down to the 3rd seed in Talon Esports in a clean 3-0. With that draw in the middle, I may add. And CAG, of course, it would go to the map 5 for the 2nd time in a row in playoffs. Xavier Esports were nearly there. EXL Esports were nearly there, but it's CAG that will go to their grand finals against Talon Esports.
They had just enough in the tank, and such a tough series for them. Getting that early 2-0 lead and then nearly having it wrested away from them. And came right down to that last possible moment. In the end, it was CAG with the backs against the wall after losing City Centre, but they pulled it back not just once, but then twice on Gardens. I mean, I couldn't have written it better myself, right? It's just so fitting for this team. And now, I don't care how hard it's been. I don't care how close it's come. CAG are in the finals. They deserve it. And even if they win that one at the bottom of a best of 5 on Gardens of Oasis and they take out the win, it is deserved. They've earned it. This is such an incredible team to behold in this region. I want so much for them, but they have had to work hard for it, and they're still not done.
And so much sacrifice in the middle as well. Again, a year worth of unfortunate results for a Japanese roster, 4 different Japanese rosters to finally find the one that will and perhaps bring home that victory. But I am also very excited for the other side of that coin. Xavier Esports have proven so much in this season. Beating Blank, coming through the quarterfinals, then into the semifinals themselves. They beat Machi, who were looking like one of the better teams in Group A. This could have been their grand finals, and I'd like to say, look, This is a Xavier squad I cannot wait to see in Season 3. Paddy Pan has really come out himself as an insane player. We look to see Mega Esports as that veteran Thai squad. You look at guys like Apudo, and now you look at teams like Xavier Esports, and you got to say, Paddy Pan is holding that torch high. Xavier is holding that torch high, and that group of 7 players is moving forward in a very big way. And as to reiterate as well, they may not be going to the grand finals of Contenders Pacific Season 2, but Thailand is still going to be in Bangkok anyway as the national team. Paddy Pan's still going to be there. Saijin's still going to be there. That's what you like to see. Let's move on a little bit though. If you want to take part in Contenders, Open Division Season 3 is officially open in terms of registration. Get yourself signed up with a team open to all skill ratings. If you come top 4 in Open Division, you go into trials where you face the bottom 4 teams from last Contenders season. And the top 4 teams from that will enter Contenders. So this is how you begin your path to pro.
And it's in that trials, by the way, that other squad you were just talking about, Mega, will be face down and maybe they don't make it back. If that happens, then the mantle of the Thai team of Contenders truly gets passed to Xavier. They will not get past the semifinals. There has still not been a Thai team ever in the history of this region to make it past a semifinal, but still, this is a crowning achievement for the Xavier squad to take up that mantle, to be the best Thai squad here, and maybe in future the only one. But we have to celebrate the successes of these other teams in this tournament, the teams that are making it to the final. Talon, who had an incredible semi-final earlier today. The unexpected result, we thought it could maybe be close. We did not expect a 3-0. There is that tie there, but the point still stands. And then CAG battled their way through this one. They come out of it looking absolutely haggard and bruised, but they have now just over a month to get into full fighting form for that finals.
We can be pleased about what Thailand can be proud of is the fact that the consistency is there. 2 Contenders seasons in a row, and there has always been a Thai team in the semi-finals. They've always made that top 4, and that is a very important feat for a team from that country. And again, I cannot wait to see how far these teams go. I cannot wait to see who will come out on top in that grand finals. Talon Esports representing Korea versus Cyclops Athlete Gaming representing Japan in their first ever grand finals of Contenders. I'm looking forward to all of that and so much more. It's been a fantastic season. And Pixie, grand finals are still ahead, coming up on the 14th of September in Bangkok. Mark that one on your calendar dates. We'll see you then.